Hi again, it's Adam. Welcome to the Interaxis YouTube channel and Interaxis.io. We talked about security tokens in another video, and now I want to hit a couple of the exciting things that have happened in security tokens recently. There's going to be four of them. One is a company called Harbor, right, has issued over $100 million worth of security tokens for four different real estate assets, for four different real estate investments, right? That's a big deal because that's a lot of people that have pledged a lot of money to buy real estate by a security token. Now you think, gosh, you must be, it's blockchain, it's cryptocurrency, you must be risky, but in reality, all they're doing is they're taking ownership in a real asset, which is real estate, a building or property that you can feel and touch, and they're just making it easier by denoting it in a security token, right? So they've taken this idea that all that legal paperwork, we're just going to put it in the code, and we're going to put it on a blockchain, and that's how we're going to track ownership. Now, there's no guarantee that these will ever be traded on an exchange. There's no guarantee that these people will ever have liquidity for their security token beyond Harbor actually selling those investments overall, and these people just basically getting a windfall of cash back for their investment. However, it's exciting, and there's a lot of momentum there that $100 million has gone towards real estate that is denoted via security token, right? So that's actually a big deal, and that's kind of been some news that's been out recently. Number two, exciting thing is a company called Securitize. Securitize is a company that will help with the technical aspect of taking usually a private investment, any asset, and creating the security token for it, right? So they take your asset, they create the security token. They will also work with what's called onboarding, which is getting the investors on board, doing I talked about it earlier, the KYC AML, the accredited investor, right? Making sure that everyone's good, checking off those boxes, and then getting those people their security tokens and keeping track. Beyond that, there's the management that says, okay, if there's going to be distributions for that security token, it goes to the token, right? It goes to XYZ real estate in this point. So they keep track of that whole process, and they help manage that entire process. Now, there are other companies that do this, and I don't want to say Securitize is the only one. There's Securency, and there's Polymath, and there's probably a whole bunch of others that I'm not thinking of right off the top of my head. But this is the exciting thing for Securitize is they're the first one to be registered as a transfer agent. Okay, what a transfer agent does is, if we go back to say an example where in the good old days Adam owns GE stock, right, and Ron wants to buy GE stock, so I sell it to him, he gives me money. This probably happens on an exchange. Now what has to happen is GE has to know about it. And why does GE have to know about it? Because they now have to pay dividends to Ron instead of to Adam. They have to send Ron the dividend check, and Ron has to vote instead of Adam. So in order for GE to know about it, GE doesn't want to have a huge organization that takes care of this. So there's transfer agents. Transfer agents are registered with the SEC to keep track of things like this. Okay, and so transfer agent says, okay, Adam no longer owns this, Ron now owns it. The transfer agent does that. Why it's such a big deal that Securitize is now a transfer agent? Because it opens the door for things like, for stocks like GE to now be denoted via a security token, because it means when GE is transferred on an exchange, when that token is transferred, there's a potential there that they don't have to go through some other transfer agent. It can be done immediately, right? Whereas this might be a 3-day process. Now it can be completely immediate, which means we can have GE tokens essentially on a blockchain, which makes them, you have this idea of immutability, you have transparency, right? You can see much more into the workings of the stock, the background of the stock, not that you couldn't because it was public anyway, but you have this immutability, right? You can always track the ownership of any particular token all the way back. So that helps for things like cash, or for cost basis, for tax purposes, maybe for like divorce, for business, for inheritance, for estate, for anything like that. You have this immutability. You have all sorts of exciting things that happen when a company that helps take some sort of assets and digitize them or create a security token is now a transfer agent. This is actually really exciting, and it's a huge step forward from a regulatory perspective for security tokens. It's a huge step forward for the momentum, for the technology and everything. This is a really big deal. It kind of slipped through a lot of cracks, but those of us in the kind of the blockchain and the decentralized finance world really picked up on this and applauded it. We'll see how it works out, but we like anything that moves us forward, right? Third thing that I saw has happened is a company called Zion created Zion Coin. And what they have done, this is near and dear to my heart because I'm in Texas, right? We're oil and gas. Like, we like to buy land and drill holes in it, right? So Zion has tokenized, created tokens out of their oil and gas assets, out of their oil and gas income, right? So you drill holes in the ground, and usually those are very illiquid investments. No pun intended. If I invest in, oil and gas investment one, right, and they go drill into the ground and it starts paying me an income based on what comes out of the ground, I can't really sell that investment to anyone. I just have to keep getting my income. Now, that might sound great, but what if I need the money, right? I can't ever get it back. What they've done is they've tokenized this to where eventually I can probably sell this OG1 token on some sort of exchange. And they've created the ability to tokenize it, and they're creating the exchange. And this is really exciting because now, in the past I talked about Harbor as a company that did this for real estate. There's a company called Real Blocks that's doing this. They're based in New York. There are several companies that are doing it for real estate. Zion is one of the first ones to do it for oil and gas. And this is really exciting because of the trillions of dollars worldwide that are invested in oil and gas, and to be able to tokenize that and give more people the opportunity to invest and give those investors the opportunity to get out of those investments is really exciting. And Zion is one of the first ones to do this, and they again kind of slipped through the cracks a bit, but they have a whole lot of interest, obviously from people in the oil and gas world, from those in the Middle East and such, that really want to be able to have these oil and gas, these producing assets, and then create some sort of liquidity and be able to get out of them and maybe go take that money and go drill some more. So that's really exciting. The last one is in the field of athletes and entertainers, right? There's an NBA player named Spencer Dinwiddie. And Spencer Dinwiddie just signed a new deal. I believe it was around $34 million. But I think it was the Brooklyn Nets. I'm not quite sure. I don't really remember, but I'm pretty sure Spencer plays with the Nets. But what he did was he took his $34 million contract over 3 to 4 years that he was going to get paid, and he tokenized it. So he is going to get the entire $34 million basically up front, ideally, for selling these tokens, and everyone else is going to have these Spencer Dinwiddie tokens, right? And what's going to happen is as the Nets pay him, it's going to go to pay these tokens over years. So the great part is he's got his money up front. He can go invest this, and since he has so much money, he can probably get a really good rate of return. And as he plays out his contract, his token holders will get paid. So he's not getting he's basically tokenized an annuity stream, right? He's one of the first entertainers or athletes to do this. This is actually pretty revolutionary. It's not so big because you pretty much know what he's going to get paid. Where this becomes interesting is if other athletes and other entertainers start tokenizing themselves as basically a company, something I can invest in, where they don't necessarily have a guaranteed income stream coming in, where they don't have a guaranteed contract. That's where it will get interesting. So if an entertainer, if an actor starts tokenizing himself or herself, and once they start to get roles, they have to pay out whatever their contracted amount is to those tokens. That'll be interesting. If I don't know, if they're ever going to get roles again, if I don't know if they're ever going to act again, that could get interesting. You wonder for athletes how far down it's going to go. Will it go to college athletes? Will it go to athletes that are entering the draft and haven't been drafted yet? Are they going to tokenize their future? Instead of tokenizing their contract with their team, are they going to tokenize their endorsement contracts or something, where I can basically place a bet or make an investment on a certain athlete thinking they're going to get some sort of endorsement contracts or team contracts or something later, and hope that they get it. So I'm investing in an athlete the same way I might invest in a company. That will really get interesting, but it's exciting and it's a lot of momentum in it, and it kind of generates buzz, but it's interesting because it's an actual use case. People are going to buy this token and participate in basically owning a piece of him, not owning a piece of him, owning a piece of his income and his contract. So as he plays it out, I can get income for 3 years based on money I've put up front. Now, he's not going to sell this for 34 million. He might sell it for, 28 million or something, right? Because of the time value of money. But it's just an interesting concept, and you thought it would. We all thought it would come to fruition soon. The idea of athletes and entertainers. Eventually, I bet there will be entire sports teams that tokenize themselves. You might tokenize the building of a stadium or a building of an arena, right? Whereas that's a lot of times public funding. Well, you might tokenize that, and I'm now a tiny owner of a team or of an arena. So this is really exciting that it's happened in sports, and it'll happen more in entertainment. So after I discuss security tokens, I wanted to discuss these 4 big topics of Harbor with their real estate, of Securitize with being a transfer agent, of Zion Coin, and now of Spencer Dinwiddie and what they've done with security tokens. Again, subscribe to our YouTube channel, hit us up at interaxis.io, and on Twitter at interaxis8. Thanks.